Okay, I want to hit you with some review problems, and then we're going to the assignment. 18% of the land in Florida is covered by water. If water covers 11,000 square miles, what's the total land area in Florida? So the percent has of after it, so that means you're lining it up over 100%. You don't have to make it a decimal or anything. Okay, you don't have to move the decimal because it can go over 100. Then this is the total, and then the top is what I've circled, covered by water. So how much is covered by water? Okay, water covers 11,000 square miles, so it's 11,000. And then what's the total? So I'm finding the total. So I know 18 times x is equal to 100 times 11,000. So I take 100, I find out what 100 times 11,000 is, and then just divide that by 18. Sloppy answer, and it's not a money problem, so I just write what's before the decimal. 61,111 square miles. Okay, 20% of my monthly check is spent on groceries. If I make $2,000 in a month, how much is spent on groceries? There it says of again. Okay. So 20% goes over 100%. To know what goes where, you got to put labels, total, and then is spent on groceries. So how much is spent on groceries? We don't know because that's what they're asking me. So X, and then the total's 2,000. So this time I was given the total, and I have to find what's spent on groceries. So 20 times 2,000 is equal to 100 times X. So we take 20 times 2,000, and if that's equal to 100 times X, we're just going to divide by 100 to get 400. So 400. And you just put a $sign. Okay, 2/3 of the animals at the zoo are reptile. Okay, cross this problem out. We haven't done with fractions yet. Okay, we'll have to do that tomorrow. Okay, I haven't taught you that, how to do a fraction. It's very similar to the 100%, but without me teaching it. I will make an assignment. It's a very short assignment. A set of golf clubs are marked 40% off the original price. Off is circled. The price is $360 after the mark off. How much did the clubs cost before the mark off? Now it doesn't say 40% of, so it does not line up over 100. Instead, it's 100% minus 40%, which is 60%, and then we come over here and we make our percent times before equals after equation, okay? So 60 is my percent, but since I'm not putting it over the 100, I need to move the decimal twice. So 0.60, okay? That's your percent factor. Now I have circled before, so it's before we don't know, okay? So the after amount we do know is 360. So now line up your equation. You have 360 and you have 0.60 times x. So I'm solving for x, okay? Well, we have a multiplication operation with x. So to solve it, I need to divide, okay? If the letter's got an operation with it like times, you need to do the opposite and divide. And that's going to find your answer. So 360 divided by 0.60 is 600. So it cost $600 before, then it was marked off, and then it ended up at 360. Okay, now this relates your distance, speed, time you just learned. Okay, I'm going to go over 3 examples. It's a little bit challenging. A car traveling 70 miles per hour travels 70 miles farther than a car that travels 60 miles per hour. Find the distance each car traveled. And then I wrote the cars travel for the same amount of time. Same means equal. Now you're going to learn a new type of story problem. It's called distance, speed, and time. Okay, or actually speed, distance, time in that order. you make a grid. Okay, the grid has 2 rows and 3 columns. Now you label the columns, very important. You're going to have fast and slow. That's how I label them. That's how we know what's what. Then on top you put speed first. I want that first, then I want distance, then I want time. Now the speed are the numbers with the per. You got 70 miles per hour. 75 miles is not a speed. That's say miles per hour. 60 miles per hour. So the fast is 70, the slow is 60. Don't put .x, okay? So we're crossing those out now because they have been placed on the table. Now distance is just miles without per hour. Now I see I got 75 miles, but there's a big word after that, farther. That doesn't mean either car just went 75 miles. It means we don't know how far the distance either car traveled, but we know the fast one went 75 further, so put a plus 75. Now what plus 75? I don't know, so I'm just going to put D. You can put D or X, it doesn't matter. Let's use X, okay? Now what are we going to put here? Now this is just going to be X without the plus 75 because we don't know either one, but we know that's going to be 75 further. That's called writing an expression for unknowns with a comparison amount. Now cross that out. Now the time we have no idea, okay? We know that the times are equal, so you put that outside. But you know from the last assignment you did that time is distance divided by speed, okay? So make a division line. Now the distance here is x plus 75, so we can't actually divide because we don't know what x is, and the speed is 70. Now the distance there is x. Again, I can't actually divide because I don't know what x is, so you set up divided by, but you don't actually divide. Ain't that weird? Now, you know that these are the same, so you set them equal to each other. So x plus 75 over 70 equals x over 60. Now, you obviously can't cross multiply and divide here, but you know that this times this, a times b, is equal to c times d. So you line up the equals, what we did Thursday and Friday, with the 2 parentheses on each side. So a times b over here, that's going to be x plus 75 times 60. That's a times, remember. And then c times d. C is just x, d is 70. Now, I have a plus right there, so drop the plus down, and you need to put a 1 in front of the x and distribute the 60 to each term separately to multiply that. Times 1x times 75. So that's going to be 60x, and then 60 times 75, we're obviously going to need a calculator, 4,500. That's the end of that side. Now over here, you put a 1. Now there's no plus over there, okay? So there's no plus. So don't draw rainbows. You just put an x and take 70 times 1. That's 70. Okay? See, I'm not going to take 70 times 1 and 70 times x. There's no plus sign between them. It's just one product to find. Here there are 2. Okay, now when solving these, don't just pick any x you want. You want to pick that one because if I pick that one to get rid of, there's nothing with it. And that's a problem. So it's positive. To take it to 0, you minus it. And then you go over here and minus it. So that's 10x. And over here you got 4,500. So line up your wall. The only operation is times, so you divide. So you got x. 4,500 divided by 10 is 450. Now, here's what you do with your answer. You come up here and cross your x's out and put 450 in their place. So now you can find the distance. You're going to take 450 plus 75. That's 525. That's your first answer, 525 miles. And this is just 450 miles. And I have my two answers. Okay, I'm going to go with two more just like that one, okay? A car traveling 85 miles per hour travels 200 miles further than the car that travels 65 miles per hour. Find the distance each car travels. The cars travel for the same amount of time, so you got two answers to find. Again, you want to set your speed, distance, time table. Okay, so fast, slow. So speed, distance, time. So the speeds are your miles per hours. Okay, the fast is 85, the slow is 65. Now the distance is the miles without the per hour. And I see 200 miles, but it's further. That doesn't mean just put a 200 in one of the boxes. Further means plus 200, and that would be the fast car. The plus amount goes with the fast car because he would travel further. What plus 200, I don't know. You can put any letter you want, okay? But I'll just use X. And this is just X. So the cars travel for the same time, so these are equal, but you don't know anything about the time. The time is the hours itself. But you know that time is distance divided by speed. So the distance is the expression x plus 200, and the speed is 85. So I never actually get a divide, okay? Distance, x, 6. So if you're like, oh, I got to divide. No, you can't because you don't have the x value. You're never going to, well, I don't want to, you're going to eventually, but not up there. Now line those up so they're equal. They form a proportion. X plus 200 over 85 equals x over 65. So again, I may not be able to multiply and divide, but I know that multiplying these will equal multiplying these. So A, B, C, D. The diagonal products are the same. Remember, these are times, okay? So A is x plus 200. You want to circle the plus, and then B is 65. So you'll have to find two products on that side because there's a plus there. Now, C is x, put a 1 in front. D is 85. There's no pluses there, so that's just one whole product. Okay, so I drop that plus, and to find what goes on each side, we got to distribute the 65. First to 1x, then to 200. So that's going to be 65x, and then 65 times 200 is 13,000. So you got 65x and then 13,000. Now on the other side, remember, this is only one product, okay? You just put x down, 1 times 85 is 85. Now you want to mark the x, the smaller of the x's, on this problem. Now on the regular problems it doesn't really matter, but on story problems you want to use your smaller x and get rid of that. So that's 20x, 13,000. Now here's x, that means 20 times x, so I just need to divide to solve. 13,000 divided by 20 is 650. So once you get that, you got to know what to do with it. You got 650, 650. So 650 plus 200 is 850. And this is just 650. So the fast car went 850 miles, the slow car traveled 650 miles. Okay, last problem. This shouldn't say 17, it should be in just example. One car travels 75 miles per hour on a trip, while another car travels 60 miles per hour. At the end of the trip, the first car traveled 120 miles further. How far did each car travel? The cars travel equal time, so we're figuring out the miles for both cars. So speed, distance, time. So set up the grid, 2 rows, 3 columns. Fast, slow. Okay, so speed, distance, time. So the speeds are your pers. So 75 is fast, 60 is slow. And And the distance, I see 120 miles further, but I don't know that. Okay, I don't have a distinct value. That just means I get to put plus 120 in for the fast car. Now, what plus 120? We don't know. We don't have that. This can just be X solo. Okay, and then time. We know that the times are equal, and we know that time can be found by taking the distance of the car divided by the speed of the car, not t, speed. But I never get a divide because the distance I don't know. I mean, I have the expression for it, but I don't have the value. And then speed 75. Then x over 60. Now line those up into a proportion. X plus 120 over 75 equals x over 60. Okay, so taking A times B will equal C times D. Remember, you're multiplying the parentheses together. Okay. So A, I've got x plus 120. Couple things. You might want to apply a 1 and circle the plus. That means there'll be two products to find because you're going to put a 60. Now C times D. So C is x, you'll put a 1, but there's no plus there. And then D is 75. So I've got two separate things with that plus. So I drop the plus and then distribute. So 60x, 60 times 120 is going to be a big number, 7,200. So on this side I now have 60x plus 7,200. The other side there's no plus, so it's just one single product. So you got your x, 75 times 175. Okay, now let's get rid of him. So 15x, 7,200. So here's the only x I have. It has a multiplication operation by 15. So to solve for x, I divide. So 7,200 divided by 15 is 480. So what do you do with 480? Jump up here. So 480 plus 120 is 600. And this is just 480. And you have one problem. Okay.